Well, I've been active on Twitter Spaces for like 4 days. I got very interested to all the rooms talking. Politicians and influencers are talking on Twitter, and there's a lot of free speech. So I accidentally walked into a white nationalist space, and they were proudly using racist and homophobic slurs. And there was a Chinese man arguing with them, and it was very interesting, a very eye-opening experience. Like we're very aware of the propaganda and sort of anti-Asian
Yeah.
discrimination we see in the media, but to hear it firsthand from the horse's mouth it was quite an experience, and a lot of us were talking about it last night because at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of jealousy
Would it
and
be
paranoia.
would it be jealousy from the Western side, or is it insecurity? Or maybe they see, I feel like there might be something there, like people are not happy with their life. So it is kind of for them it's a pretty good feeling to talk down on others, because this is
Yeah,
what I hear in the Netherlands a lot.
yeah.
At least we're having it better. And I
Yeah.
say, but what I don't understand of this mindset, and I'm half Dutch myself, right?
Yes.
Is like, why would you have the mindset of wanting to be better than diarrhea? You are still shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. Sorry, but you know, you want to improve your life, right? You don't
Yeah.
want to be compare yourself to shit.
Yeah. I think I should share this
Comparison,
story.
right?
I think I should share exactly what happened because I think a lot of people are having sort of aha moments. So there was this independent journalist named Andrew, AP mindset coach, very nice guy, very, very good moderator. And he had a lot of pro-China voices on. There was a guy living in Hong Kong, there was a guy living in mainland China, a woman living in mainland China, and they were dispelling a lot of the myths, like social credit score, all of that sort
Yeah,
of
yeah.
stuff. And there were some Caucasian speakers, and one of them we later identified as a white nationalist, like racist. Like it's okay to be proud of your country, but don't be racist, right?
Yeah, there's
Um,
no need to, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So he did not get a chance to speak, in the group, and I think he carried that grudge until the next day. So the next day, when a Chinese person spoke up, and then this time he had the microphone, so he instantly started shouting, instantly started insulting the Chinese person's eyes and body, instantly started saying "Go back to China," instantly started using the Asian slurs and even really nasty homophobic slurs. Like I was completely shocked. And when the Chinese guy called him on it, he just called him weak and a snowflake for protesting against using these slurs. And then, the host sort of kind of allowed it because, um, I think Chinese people last night, and even even this half Chinese woman and an Irish man with a Chinese wife was saying, it's very important that Asian people speak up. You don't have to hurt anyone, but you should speak up and be firm and stand up for yourself with respect. Because, like you said, there is a lot of frustration. I heard one of the Americans talking. They said they were very, the discussion went on after the racist attack, right? So one of them said they're very frustrated with America, very frustrated with their government, very frustrated with these sort of criminals in the elite system that don't meet any justice. So I did empathize with that, but still, I don't think any person should tolerate just like random verbal attacks and racist attacks. So it was very eye-opening for a lot of people because, some of the women were defending the the white nationalists using racist terms, and they were saying, oh, this person actually knows a lot about China. Sometimes he speaks up for us and says, the what's going on in Xinjiang is not what you hear in the media. But my wife said, sometimes these people, they want to get close to you and they know how to befriend you, but it doesn't mean deep down they don't hold feelings of superiority, and they don't look down on you in some way. And one last thing I'll share, I know I'm going on and on. One last thing I'll share was, the Irish guy said, I'm considering moving my family to China where my children will likely face less of this really hateful discrimination. And he said when he was growing up, even though there were no Chinese people in his town, people would make jokes about Chinese, say, oh, Chinese people named their kids by throwing pots and pans down the stairs. And, Chinese people are untrustworthy and their food has MSG and this and that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that it was a very good discussion and a learning experience for a lot of us, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how you get into all these Twitter spaces. I don't even know about them.
Yeah, I'm super new to it and I'm very naive. So I walked into that.
How is it? How is the platform? Is it like Zoom or whatever?
I actually think it's kind of neat. So like anyone can open a Twitter space and it's like an audio chat room. And you're allowed to have like up to 12 speakers or something like that. And you have like one host and two co-hosts, and they can sort of moderate the discussion. So there's all sorts of spaces. Like there's spaces that say, oh, here we tolerate all speech. It's a free speech zone. You can say whatever you want. And then there are spaces that have, different rules. So it's kind of interesting. It's like the other day I was sitting in and just listening to a space of mostly people from Hong Kong and Taiwan talking about, when will China see democracy? So there's all different kinds of voices, and it's interesting to hear them because, I think it's easy to type BS, but it's a bit harder to actually say it. So sometimes you hear people being more sincere, even if you don't agree with them.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Bad.
A lot of people just don't know any better, right? They just suffer from a flawed ideology. Therefore, sometimes you cannot even blame them.
Yeah. If you have time, I think you should really join on the Twitter Spaces sometime. Like the next time there's an event, I'll try to link you, because I think your voice would be really appreciated. Your perspective.
I don't know. Normally people get pretty mad when I start talking.
Well,
because I don't
go ahead.
Bullshit, right? I just in their face, and I speak exactly their language.
That's right.
Like that, right? I still can remember at school, they really enjoyed it to beat me every day. But when I started to beat them, they did it all of a sudden. They didn't enjoy it anymore.
They played the victim all of a sudden.
I was crossing that line, right? But I must admit, I was a little bit more violent than them. But nobody tells you to attack another person, right?
And you got ganged up on, so that does develop a certain strength if you overcome it.
Nobody tells you to attack other people's, right? That is why I never will attack somebody just physically for nothing, because I know there are nutcases, because I am one. When you start to fight, they will not stop.
Right?
This whole thing it always has been like that. Even the teachers never done anything about it. They sent me home though when I started hitting people. They even needed me to go to a psychologist.
What? That's ridiculous.
Yes, not the others, but me. So I was already at a very young age. But at that time we didn't speak about all these terms like racism, and it didn't exist. Right? In terms, right? Obviously there was racism, but nobody was talking about it like now. Now it's a thing, right?
It's clearer now.
Well, they make it a whole thing because they use it for political gains.
Let's
be honest, it's not for us.
That's right. It's true.
It's also not for Africans or Muslims or for any group. It's just for political gains. But in the past, they didn't need these things, so they didn't talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So you always will be it's very, very weird for people to act like that. I'm
It's
half
very
Dutch.
strange.
I'm half
Yes.
Dutch, but I'm only Dutch when to Dutch people when it suits them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
How many times I've heard you guys. Last
Yeah.
time I had it with a friend. We are not friends anymore, but I called him out. So who exactly are you referring to when you say you guys? I want to know
Mm.
because the last time I
Yes.
checked, I came out of a Dutch
Yes.
women's belly. Right? So who are you referring to, and why do you call me like that? Right? It means you do not uh, see somebody as your equal.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. Based on
Yeah,
the last few days' experiences, I absolutely
yeah.
agree in
You're
those
not
Twitter
an equal,
spaces.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have this misconception also typically about Chinese people or about China, like, oh, you guys were just poor, you just became somebody, you still have a lot to learn, not knowing that before 1840 China had already a third 33% of the GDP in the world, right? They were already civilized and rich, and that was the end of their of the dynasty, right? It was already not going that well, but still at a third of the world's GDP. So a lot of misconception. People are also not properly schooled, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
had to learn about my country that we were involved in the Opium Wars.
Uh,
I was not taught that on school. I literally have not been taught anything about China at all,
yeah.
except that Mao was bad.
Right.
Right? That's it.
Right.
Right?
Very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mao is
Very.
bad. That's it.
That's
Next
it. Yeah.
chapter. Let's talk
Yeah.
about Romans. Oh, well,
Yeah.
since we are China, let's say Russia is bad too. Okay, next topic, right?
Let's talk about manifest destiny. Yeah.
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 Uh,
Yeah. Absolutely.
this is
In that.
how we are being taught, right? The
Yes.
the Netherlands had so many colonies, and nobody is being taught about it. It's only in school. Yes, we had some colonies. Yeah, we could have done better, but we also did good things. That's it.
Right.
Move on.
Right.
We're going to talk about the Roman Empire,
Yeah.
right? So people are not educated. And another thing is
Yes.
what I think is when you are not in that situation, you also can never feel it, right?
Yes.
It's
Absolutely.
impossible for you and me to feel how a Black American would feel when somebody is saying a slur to him, right? We might think like, it's not a big deal, right? But for
Yeah.
them, it is because they
Yes.
have a whole history of things in a chain going on, right? Similar
Mm-hmm.
with the Muslims, right? Now it's similar with the Chinese people, right? So
I see. Yeah.
this is something, yeah. If people don't go through these things, it's very hard for them to understand. Because then it's also it's just a word. I have no real intention or meaning with that,
Mm-hmm.
but the other one will
Mm-hmm.
not see it because there have been more cases of having a real bad intention and with it in
Right. Yeah. And there was this Asian lady who was proclaimed herself as very liberal, and she hated Mao and hated communism. And it sounds like her family traces back to like the KMT landlord era on the mainland. And she made this list ranking Asians in America, saying which ones are the most trustworthy and which ones should be kicked out or dealt with. And it was like this two-page writing with a list of Asians, Hong Kong with second generation are at the top, things like that. And it was just really shocking to see the amount of race baiting and rationalization. And like you said, it really is. It's everything you said. I agree with everything you said, and you know they tried to turn it around on the Chinese community. Said you guys blame everything on white supremacy, and I said no. You know
Yeah, yeah.
my issue is not really white supremacy. I think what we're seeing is this sort of Thucydides trap play out in front of us, because from our perspective, we're just asking for equality and fairness, but you see that as us being militant or aggressive, you know. And my issue is white hypocrisy, not supremacy, because like that day when that man was arguing with them, and they insulted him, you know, one of the co-hosts said, well, you know, things go one way here. She's allowed to ad hominem attack you, attack your personal, but you're not allowed to attack her personal
Yeah.
characteristics. And they sort of, they also mentioned, you know, they said, you know, we Anglo-Saxons, we built everything, we did everything, you know, you guys, you know, that sort of stuff,
They
that
have
sort of
no
rhetoric, you
idea.
know. Yeah, so
So the
I don't
next
know,
time,
it's shocking.
so the next time when they say these things, you just name a couple of things. So the pyramids in Egypt have been built by the white Anglo-Saxons. Is the Great Wall in China being built by the Anglo-Saxons? Is that whole fleet that probably went to the United States? Was it with what's the name of the Zhang He, I believe, right? From the Ming, was he from the Ming dynasty or the Tang dynasty that
Yeah.
one that built that entire fleet that was so big, right? Yeah, you can just ask them, right? Just come with simple
Yeah.
objects which are literally there, right?
That
None of these
that
things is what's built. You just ask them, is that paper money that you have in your pocket? Who invented that? Is it your invention? If not, why are you copying China? Right? I always do it like that, but people get very frustrated. So you must be a little bit careful sometimes.
well, you know that Chinese man actually held his own quite well. It was like 4-on-1. He held his own quite well. The hosts weren't moderating, so it was 4-on-1. And every time he would bring up a good fact, they would just call him brainwash or propaganda. And then when he went on the offensive and said, "Look what you guys did to the natives," one person said quietly, well, the natives sold the land to us. It was a treaty, you know. So there's a very
Yeah.
holier than thou, very holier than thou. I give props to that person arguing. He really did well. He held his ground.
It's similar like Hong Kong was signed off to the Brits.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. It was all kosher. Everyone was everything hunky dory, right?
You know, the Qing dynasty was so generous. They said, you always come here and dock it. Take Hong Kong. Take it. You bought so much tea and you brought so much delicious opium.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
it's only fair. It's only fair.
Yeah. You know what? Put some armies in there too.
The least we could do. The least we could do.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned white hypocrisy. Yes, that's
That's my issue.
it
Yes.
should become a term. Yeah, it really is. It should become in a dictionary because it's a true thing, and I think it all starts with that flawed ideology, right?
Yeah.
We are not being taught properly what really is going on in the world.
Yeah.
We have been brainwashed until an extent that a lot of people really, when they even are confronted with the truth, it hurts.
Yes.
It will block in the brain.
Yes.
It will block in the brain.
Yeah. Cognitive dissonance. Yeah.
How many people I've seen in my comment section when I make a video, I always put my sources in there, right? All the
right
from the last one that I did with the Twitter accounts. I actually made two of that with the Thai video in it, right? Oh, and
yeah.
One account says it is Chinese workers being abused in China, and the other said Uyghurs are being abused in China, right? So I still somebody, but China still denies it. Yeah. So my question was, which story do they have to say is true? Because you give two totally different stories with one single video. which is obviously in Thai, because in the second video I put the Thai news outlet in there, the video of it, because in the first one I only did the articles with the translation, and the people still don't believe it. And then they say, "I don't believe you, Mr. Fong." Well, I'm just saying what's in this newspaper. I'm just reading from my Google Translate out of this Thai newspaper, and it's not one, it's a lot, because it kind of was a big deal with what happened there. I mean, many people in the comment section say, "This is Thai, this is not Chinese. They don't even speak Chinese, right?" So how likely would it be that an Uyghur and Chinese, or Chinese Uyghur and a Han Chinese in Xinjiang would speak Thai? I'm
Yeah.
not saying there are not that cannot speak Thai, but how likely would it be that they continuously speak Thai? That doesn't make sense at all, right?
Ah, man, it's a lot of hubris. I feel a lot of confidence to be able to state these things, so proud, so loudly. It actually leaves me speechless a lot of the times, and I give props to the propaganda machine. They
They are
really
the best.
they have really influenced the whole world so
Yeah.
strongly.
Yeah. I was reading a book. It's called I have to change the first letter of one word. You will know what it is when you hear it, because probably not allowed to say. The Fape of the Mind.
Uh-huh.
So it's a really good book. It's about brainwashing, right? So the fee should be another letter. And he is talking about all these instances on how you brainwash. It's an old book. It was actually a Dutchman who fled from the Nazis and went over to the United States, and there he developed this. He was a psychiatrist, and he was just investigating on brainwashing. So he is talking about how the communist people were brainwashing their prisoners of war in the Korean War and this and that, and how effective each method was, right?
Mm.
And then he writes in his book, "But if you think they are the masters of brainwashing, that's not true. We are the ones. We are so good at brainwashing that people don't even know it anymore."
Right.
They think they live in a truth which is actually a lie.
Yeah, it's very subversive and complicated.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. It's very clever, very smart propaganda.
It's literally what he said. He said we perfected the craft. What the communists did in the Korean War was just very basic.
Speaking facts, really.
He said it was very basic. Once
Yes,
the
I
prisoner
agree.
gets out, the brain is automatically is going back to normal. But what we are doing, the brain it's really hard for it to go back to normal, because it's conflicting, right? Because your whole ideology, your whole way of thinking, all the patterns are actually false.
Well, it hooks into your humanity. They milk your compassion. They hinge onto your empathy, right?
Yeah.
They use your moral code to corrupt you.
Yeah.
The truth, you might think you're defending morality and democracy and human rights, but you might actually not be. That's the saddest part.
That's because they have a flawed ideology, right? If you read about propaganda, how they make it, you will soon find out it is always, especially has to do, and that's why we don't have a liberal democracy, because it has been hijacked by the propaganda. Right? You cannot have a democracy when people are misinformed.
Right.
Because they will vote for the things that they do not want to vote for.
Right, right.
So we do not live in a democracy. We live in a fake democracy. The problem is, with a liberal democracy, we allow free speech. The problem with free speech is you're allowed to lie. But when you lie, democracy will fall. Right? I mean, Trump gave the tax cuts. Oh, it's good. It's a beautiful story. almost everybody bought it, right? If an
Yeah.
investor, if they get the money, they will reinvest it in their business and there will be more jobs. No, they won't, because there's no money in there. It's just going to speculate it, enrich yourself, and cash out, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing for the normal 99%, but
Hmm.
somehow it seems in their brain like it still is, right?
Right.
Hating on Trump. I mean, all the other ex-presidents did the same thing, right?
Right.
And both parties always talk about the deficit, right? Oh, it's dangerous. Let's
Hmm.
borrow more money. Nobody's borrowing money, you're just printing, right? It's
Dollar hegemony
it's
is
not
very
that they have to
powerful.
pay it back,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, that's the I think it's because of that that maybe that we see it as a hypocrisy, but maybe they really don't know.
Yeah, what you were saying makes me think of this thing. I find the people who don't know, they really sanitize sanctions. Like, oh, the sanctions need to be done and it's all legitimate. It's within international rule and law. But sanctions really hurt the common man and the common person, right?
Oh yeah.
The common woman and the children. It really hurts the frontline workers and the people who doing small business. I mean, that's a general rule I find with sanctions, depending on what is sanctioned. But usually there's a cascade effect, a chain effect, and I think sanctions are very brutal things. It's economic warfare.
Sanctions are being compared nowadays to genocide. There,
Oh, oh,
there's a whole paper about it, how many
oh,
people it killed. I mean, just think of it, right?
yes,
People don't understand what sanctions are. People think
yes.
sanctions are when you are young and you steal a cookie from the jar that your mom maybe slaps you on the finger, right? Don't do that again, Larry. No, that's not. She will lock you up and let you starve.
Yeah,
That's sanctions,
yeah. For
right?
months or
For
years.
months until you
Yeah.
obey, right?
Yes.
Or you die. It's one of the
Yes.
two. You're going to
Yes.
obey or you're going to die. That is what
Yes.
sanctions are. There's a whole paper
Yes.
about.
Yes.
You should read about it. Uh,
I will. I will.
sanctions as genocide. Something was it? Might be this.
Okay.
Yes, sanctions as genocide. It's from the University of California,
Oh.
UC Hastings scholarship. I'm.
Yeah, I see it. I see it. I see it.
Oh, you
Interesting. I
see
will
it?
check it out. Yeah.
Oh, you. Oh, I
UC
thought you.
Hastings Scholarship Repository.
Yeah.
George Bisharat is the author. I'll check it out. I will check it out. I'm skimming it right now. Yeah, I totally hear you, Mr. Fong. It's a great chat so far.
Yeah, people don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Mm-hmm.
also don't understand the consequences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
They think they are on the right track, but they
Right.
really are not. Right? They
Yeah.
don't even understand what they are saying because they have no knowledge. And this is, I think, is another danger for having people to vote.
Ah.
Right? I mean, I cannot understand how in the United States and equally for my country that people vote. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot understand. I demand a proper government
Mm-hmm.
before I vote.
Yes.
I do not want to vote one out or choose between two bets,
Yes.
right? I want to
Yes.
vote for what is right.
Mm-hmm.
And I see in a lot of our liberal democracies, we are just either voting people out or we're choosing between two of the bad people, right? Why
Mm-hmm.
do we need to choose for one that is good?
Or the lesser evil, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but why lesser evil?
Right.
We
It's
don't want
terrible.
to have evil. We want
Right.
to have the good guy. If there are
Right.
only two evils, we should demand them all to step down and put a new candidate,
Ah, yes.
right?
Yes.
It,
The
it's ridiculous.
It is. It's like the media actively encourages the idea of, oh, you're wasting your vote. Oh, you're dumb for doing that. You're a dunce for thinking that way.
Yes, it's like
Only look here. Only look here.
yeah, it's like you go to the to court, and the judge says, "Well, you're innocent, but you're gonna have to choose uh, between who is going to put you to death." But
Yeah.
wait, I'm innocent. Well,
That's not a
I
choice.
give you
That's
two
silly.
choices. One is
Yeah.
going to be very painful, and the other one is less painful. Like, what kind of a choice? What would anybody say?
Yeah. I mean, South Park did an episode on that, right? You're either voting for a giant douche or a turd sandwich. Pardon
Yeah,
my language, right? It's
yeah.
just it's terrible.
It's I don't know what to do about it.
No, it seems to be a problem in so many modern democratic countries. It's certainly an issue in Taiwan, and it's certainly an issue in America. Like even those racist white nationalists were complaining about it, but they don't know what to do. One lady even said, I don't know if there's anything left except our own civil war.
Well,
And I take that very seriously. I don't
yeah,
want
yeah.
anyone to die. I really I don't feel superior to any human being. I really think we are all equal and we all have the same potential. And yeah, it's nuts what might happen to the world. I mean, there's so much conflict all over the world right now.
But there are also a lot of good things going on.
Yes, thank you for
And
saying
we
that.
tend to forget about that. What we are talking about
Absolutely.
is just our Western space, which only accounts for 15%, right? Well, there's a coup in Niger, but that's for their own freedom. We cannot account that to a problem, right?
Absolutely.
It will be
Absolutely.
problematic for us if we don't get our things together and start treating them like humans. Then it could
Right.
be a problem, right? But we can just say, you know what, we made a lot of mistakes. We understand what you are doing. Give us a contract which you are happy with. We
Hmm.
sign it up and we take the resources, right? You
Yeah, I
can do
heard.
it like that. It doesn't necessarily need to be like, you know, give us the mines, or you're not going to be in power very long. That's what
Yeah, I
we're
mean,
doing now,
I
right?
heard I heard the workers like mining the gold in Niger, or maybe it's not gold. I forget what resource it was exactly. Maybe,
Yeah, it was
but it was like something like
gold and uranium.
right, right. So like the person mining the gold might make like something like 11 dollars a day or $11. In comparison, the number was 11 to 250,000 American
I,
dollars. So
yeah,
so
yeah.
that
That
that's the
that
level of exploitation.
that's the uranium. That's the
Ah,
uranium.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. So
it's not hard to understand what they're doing, right? I mean,
right, right.
they might get a picture of the Eiffel Tower, and they might get to see a picture of the Eiffel Tower, right? And they see,
Hmm.
wow, this is I burn these lights on for them, right? I put these lights on for them, but then
Hmm.
they go home. They have to see it on a real picture because they cannot see it on a tablet because they have no electricity.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
obviously, it will never. I'm still surprised that Africa is taking this long, but I understand it because the time wasn't right strategically. But a lot of people
Right.
just say they are just wake. They finally woke up. I say, you. This is actually quite racist thing to say, right? You're actually basically saying that these people, for all this, what is it, 400 years or something, that they're being oppressed by the West, that they had no knowledge of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well said.
how
Well
can you not
said.
see it, right?
Right.
It is
Yeah.
right around them. They have to be blind and senseless
Hmm.
not to notice, right?
Yes.
I mean, how can they not? So, but this is again coming from how we look down on people, right? We are the better ones. See, they
Yes.
don't know it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
they also
Hmm.
probably, maybe that is also subconsciously that the people think, well, that's why they also really do not need so much things like we need
Uh-huh.
it because
Yes.
yes, we know what to do with it, right?
That's right.
Like the
That's right.
billionaires say, don't let ordinary people have all the money because they will just waste it anyway.
Waste it. Right.
Let us. We know how to invest.
Stock buybacks,
Yeah,
right? That's what you do.
yeah,
Yeah, I got interested in Twitter Spaces because I was hearing African voices, and voices from Niger, people talking about Tinubu, and I got very interested and very empathetic. It's you know, sometimes I have poor emotional boundaries. I get too empathetic, so I need to watch for that because you know, while the Africans are talking, sometimes I see people leaving laughing face emojis, and I find it very disrespectful and
Yeah.
even cruel while they're talking about their struggles. But at the same time, one African lady with a big following, she suddenly said, "You know, I don't eat Asian food. You don't know what they put in there." So while I was feeling empathetic for her, she threw a slight jab at the entire Asian people and Asian cuisine. You know, it's dirty. You don't know what's in there. Stay away, right? So I was once again very surprised.
Yeah.
But it's good to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. It's it's a good thing it's not in real life that each other see each other, because really bad things might happen if you would say
Yeah,
it would be
yeah.
openly like that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Some things people feel very free to say on the internet behind a screen, but in real
Right.
life, it's another story. Right? Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Most of the people are these are people most of the time they don't dare to say it, they don't dare to voice it when it is a real person to real person. It's a coward thing,
Mm,
right? Why would people even laugh about listening to somebody suffering,
right,
right?
right, right.
That's already a weird thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's sociopathic. It's psychotic, somewhat.
Yeah, exactly. And we have
Yeah.
mindset, and this is also, I think, this is also why we tend not to learn, right?